Hey everybody, welcome to Morning Call, your tech news of the day. I'm Fab from Hamburg. It is Tuesday, the 14th of May, 2019. I don't know. I was expecting it to be at least Wednesday already. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, I'm a bit late. It's almost lunch call again. Been a busy morning at Casa del Fab. Anyway, we got some bangers today, some big ones. So let's get right into it. The biggest story, of course, WhatsApp. The security vulnerability has been disclosed in WhatsApp, has been fixed yesterday. So you should update your WhatsApp if you've got it on your phone. Update it, and they're also saying update your phone OS. For some reason, I manually updated I triggered the update on my iPhone for WhatsApp and iOS this morning, so hope that's good. So what happened is there were attacks in the wild. This is a 0-day vulnerability. It's a classic buffer overflow. You call somebody with a voice call on WhatsApp, and they don't have to do anything. They just have to be online, and as soon as basically that call, like the call request reaches your phone, your host, it can obviously get unencrypted messages. Morning reamed. But there's also talk of possibly installing malware through this. So remote code execution. This zero day was, people are saying, probably sold as part of a known spyware package that is being sold by an Israeli company called NSO Group. I've reported for Heise on these guys in the past. They sell spyware. They advertise the capability of actually owning phones and getting to encrypted messages. They say they sell this software only to intelligence services. Whoa, what a relief. But it's also apparently turned up with governments that don't take human rights very seriously. So, for example, Amnesty International is campaigning against this company. And so this all turned up, apparently, because a Canadian lawyer who lives in the UK, who works for Citizen Lab, had some weird calls on his phone from weird numbers at weird times, and on his WhatsApp, and he had this checked, but apparently Facebook was already knew of the vulnerability and had over the weekend disable some stuff on their backend server, so these hacks didn't really hurt this lawyer. But the interesting thing is that this guy was actually investigating NSO Group. So as the register says, also understood that the unnamed lawyer has helped people in Mexico and Saudi Arabia who claim they have fallen victim to NSO Group spyware through the company in Israel. So there was a story that I also wrote stuff about back a few months ago, where basically it was said that NSO Group had hacked an emir, and basically I think it was alleged that not only had the Saudi government used the software, but that NSO Group had basically directly helped them hack people. An editor of, like, I think a Muslim newspaper in London. So pretty bad. And well, at least that's 1 0 day less they can use, hopefully. But yeah, pretty big story there. Pretty interesting. You don't get a big thing like a big 0 day like that any day, and then WhatsApp, which is obviously used by billions of people. Pretty big story. So update your if you don't do anything else today, update your WhatsApp. Speaking of vulnerabilities and branding of vulnerabilities, this is hilarious. There is now a router. It's just a boring router vulnerability as far as I can tell, but the branding's pretty hilarious. So it's called 3 angry cat emojis, which is pronounced thrangry cat. I guess 3 angry cats. Just look at the site. And they actually consistently call it by the 3 emojis, which is ridiculous. How do you describe the meaning of this vulnerability name? We choose to communicate Thrangry Cat through a visual representation of symbols rather than words. Words in quotes. Naming vulnerabilities using emoji sequences instead of other pronounceable natural languages have several advantages. First, emoji sequences are universally understood across nearly all. For fuck's sake, you just want the publicity. Red balloon security. Fuck you. And I guess it worked, since I just gave them publicity. But that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, let's move on. Assange now being investigated by the Swedish legal system again. They are taking up that, well, there were 3 cases, I think 3 individual claims against Assange. 2 of them have expired. So the statute of limitation has passed, but there's 1 actual rape claim. And that is now being investigated again, the Swedish are saying. And they're kind of... Although they're saying... So the Register here writing, a woman accusing Julian Assange sexual assault has welcomed the decision to reopen an investigation into the WikiLeaks founder, but her lawyer Elizabeth Fritz warned that the Swedish prosecutor must move quickly to avoid hitting the deadline of August next year, when it will be 10 years since the offense allegedly took place. I guess that's statute of limitation on that. Assange is now in Belmarsh prison, serving a 22-month sentence for jumping bail, but he can get out, they say, I think, in 20 weeks. Interestingly, the Ecuador ambassador gave Assange gave his permission to search the room Assange was in, and so I guess. As the Register says here, it has also emerged that Ecuadorian officials have agreed to allow U.S. investigators probing the conspiracy to commit computer intrusion charge to examine the contents of Assange's former abode inside its London embassy. The rooms will be searched on 20th of May, overseen by Police Chief Diego Lopez and Second Sergeant Milton Jack. Computer forensic expert, reported El País. The Ecuadorians have apparently agreed to hand over any documents, cell phones, computers, memory drives, CDs, and other devices. So this is the American investigation of Assange. I think they'll have to line up now. As far as I can tell, the British government will have to decide who takes precedence. So where they're gonna extradite Assange in case the Swedish thing moves forward. We'll see. It's more of an interesting story. But apparently it seems like he could get out after 20 weeks. So it'll be pretty soon. I have to think. There will be a public outcry if actually the Swedish go forward with their rape investigation, and then the British extradite him to the US for like the spying stuff instead of for the rape charge. Not to say that they will do that because of that, but I think there would be an outrage. I don't know. I mean, I still think if he gets convicted in Sweden, or even if he doesn't, like no matter what afterwards, he would still face the U.S. extradition. I'm guessing, because I think they obviously want him fast. They're saying because they want to question him in the Manning case, but still, I mean that's like national security, right? I don't think that has a statute of limitations. Anyway, Apple is being sued in the US for antitrust practices because of the Apple the App Store on the iPhone. And basically, there are, I think, 3 people, individual people suing them, saying we're paying more for apps than we should because you are abusing your monopoly and you're basically charging app developers 30%. So their prices are higher. So we have to pay that as consumers. Apple had put itself in the position of saying, well, we don't understand how just like consumers can sue us. The app developers could sue us. We think that's okay. If they think we are charging too much, they could sue us, but it shouldn't be allowed that the consumers can sue us. Now a Supreme Court judge, or the Supreme Court judges, have given a green light to these consumer courts to go through. So there are 4 iPhone owners who sued them. As the register is saying, the tight 5-4 decision today against Apple has huge implications for not just the tech giant, whose share price has fallen 6% this morning on the news, but also Google, which runs a similar system and the technology market in general, which I guess is true because that's just that 30% system after Apple kind of popularized it, went in everywhere. I think this has huger connotations than, at least obviously in the US, than people think, because I'm not sure on is how that is like a hard monopoly, because I guess what they're saying is if an app is only on the on the App Store, right? Let's say it's only on the iPhone, then that's kind of a monopoly by Apple, and they can, or are they saying? That's probably wrong. They're probably saying the monopoly is that Apple has the only App Store on the device. I don't understand how that's a monopoly. It's their device. Why would you force them to have another App Store on there? And they're not the majority phone operating system, right? So you can always use Android, and I don't see the monopoly there, because in either case, developers are completely free to publish their app on Android. There's more Android users, there's more Android phones, and on Android it isn't even a monopoly. You can install apps from different sources there. But I think this will just have a big impact. I'm really interested in how this would affect like a store like the Epic Store or something, where they have like exclusives. They have store exclusives. While at the you can kind of say that like when you have a a console where like these excuses are normal, and you only have one store on there, that would be the same situation that Apple is in. And if you see that as a monopoly, how's like putting your own store on a system like on an open platform like the PC for PC gaming, and then making deals that prevent companies from putting their stuff into all the other stores that exist? How's that not creating a monopoly? Like, if that's your reasoning, if your reasoning is I can only get my app there, God, this is going to be really complicated. I mean, the Register points out it's very interesting that all this ruling in the US goes back to like stuff like selling shoes and bricks, because really, I mean, this is based on precedents like Hanover Shoe versus United Shoe Machinery in 1968. So this is really, of course, in a justice system like the US and the UK, which is one point. I mean, in the US, even more based on precedent. This is very interesting, but like the courts have never really looked at digital stores like that. That's what the Register's basically saying, and that will be the interesting thing. I think then they need to start doing that. And that will have very interesting repercussions. Anyway, I'm going to keep an eye on that. In other news, Oracle is cutting a lot of their workforce in China, apparently. It's been reported that they fired 60% of their workforce in China. Basically saying, well, we're restructuring the company, but observers are, it's Golem reporting on this, observers are saying that it's probably like the trade war that's going on between the Trump administration and the US and China, and that is currently very much in the news. So I'm not quite sure why Oracle would do that, where the pressure is. Maybe they're fearing that there'll be like taxes or something, like duty that the US, I don't even know how that will work on software projects, but I guess software products, but I guess that is a possibility, because like as Golem is saying, these are like profitable teams. Like there's not like this is not, I mean, they fired so Golem's quoting a guy where they fired like 90 employees of a 130 employee team, and this one employee talking to them, and he's like saying this is a profitable team, and we got like a new project 2 years ago, and we're actually looking for new software developers. And I mean, this is like, I don't know, I think the implication is that this is a political thing, but interesting. At some point, you're asking yourself, like, what's Oracle gonna have out of that, and do they know something that's gonna go down with Trump and the Chinese in a bit? As I've reported before, Twitter is in hot water in Germany over closing down people's accounts because of tweets that Twitter is saying were related to the European elections, and that in some cases just weren't. But it looks like people are now, you have, since a few weeks, you've been able to report people for this, and it seems like people are abusing that and just get people banned. There was a case of the Jüdische Allgemeine. It's like a Jewish newspaper in Germany, and they had tweeted something, I think, about the AfD, and they were just AfD and the Holocaust. They were talking about that, and the Israeli ambassador in Germany, and how he's avoiding contact with AfD because of that, and stuff like that. And they got banned because of that tweet, got blocked. And now it's gone very far. I've talked about how like the exterior ministry was actually involved, and now it's gotten really far, because according to Golem, the German Bundestag, so the parliament, wants to look into this, and apparently next week the Twitter a Twitter spokesperson in Germany is supposed to answer questions for like they're just gonna have a special, they have like working groups, and there's like this digital working group thing, and they're gonna ask her apparently actually it's they say next Wednesday, so I guess that's this week, that's tomorrow, I'm guessing. She's supposed to explain it to them, which is, this is serious stuff. I mean, we're talking about the parliament going after Twitter now, or basically just asking what the hell's going on, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't good. Interesting. I'll keep an eye on that as well. I think we will hear more of that. Just quickly an update on the story. I reported very earlier this year on that FaceTime vulnerability, and there was this lawyer who was going to sue Apple, or was suing Apple, because he said he was spied on. There was like a confidential discussion he was having with a client of his, and that he was spied on by this FaceTime bug, and that Apple didn't fix it earlier means he can sue them now. And that case has been dismissed. The federal court in the US has said there is, there's no evidence. He has given no evidence. He just has some, he just had some speculation basically, and no evidence of him actually being spied on. So the case has been dismissed. Which is something I had speculated would happen, because even in the news stories back then, it was just like, it sounded like speculation. There wasn't any, he didn't cite any hard evidence. So, and one last story before I let you go for today. It's just, I've talked about in the past about the Star Trek series that is, I think hasn't entered production. I think it's in pre-production with Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. So it's going to be a Picard-centered series. And news have just broken yesterday that it will be available out. I mean, in the US, it obviously will only be on, US and Canada, it will be on CBS All Access, which is CBS streaming service, which they're pushing with Star Trek. And I guess that's one of the reasons. I mean, Discovery kind of seem to have worked for them, and that's why they making more and more Star Trek series. They have announced the section. Why can't I remember what they're called? For fuck's sake. 30 section. Why? God, I'm very sorry. Section 31. Yes, sorry. I actually had to Google that. My God, I'm off my game today. I'm a bit like, I've got fucking allergies. Anyway, it's obviously affecting my brain. I can't like, I don't know what section 31 is out of the top of my head. That basically means I need to get back to bed. I'm sick. Anyway, yes, Stewart has said himself on Twitter, which Star Trek has, the Star Trek account has retweeted, that it's going to be available on Amazon Prime Video outside of the US and Canada, which is interesting because Discovery obviously is on Netflix, and this is a move of, this is a move in a long line of series that have now changed from Netflix to Amazon, because I guess Amazon is has more money to throw around, and is really starting to kick Netflix where it hurts. Riem says, entschleunigen Sie mehr. Yes, I need to entschleunigen. I don't know. I thought I was gonna get away with taking antihistamines today, because that just makes me like very groggy and sleepy. But I guess the alternative is not good either. So we'll see. This actually, the story says, aside from Stewart, other people on the series will be Alison Pill, Harry Treadaway, Issa Briones, Santiago Cabrera, even Evangora and Michelle Hurd. And aside from Michelle Hurd, I've never heard of. Let me look these guys up. I've never heard of any of these. Interesting. Well, we'll see. I don't know how long Netflix is gonna can it survive this assault though. Like Amazon is really kicking them in the balls right now. Anyway, I at first thought that when I read this story the first time, I had thought it was on Amazon Video everywhere. So that would have been really weird, but obviously it's still on CBS All Access, so that makes complete sense. They're just, it's just in those markets, right? It's like in North America that CBS All Access, and for everything else, they're just picking the streaming service that gives them the most money. And I guess Amazon has seen how well Discovery worked for Netflix, and now they're buying this. This might be even more interesting. I mean, I've soured a lot on Discovery with the last season. We'll see how the season 3 turns out. But I mean, this is Patrick Stewart as Captain Picard. If they don't completely mess this up with the writing, like they did Discovery, this could be really good. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'm gonna entschleunige myself. No, I'm not. I'm actually gonna work now. But I'll try. I promise. I'll get some Entschleunigung in later. And yeah, I think that's it for me. I'll be back tomorrow when it's actually Wednesday with some more tech news. Until then, hang in there, do a bit of Entschleunigung, and update your WhatsApp, right? See you tomorrow.